we've got your Raiders covered.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
It's Silver and Black Today on CBS Sports Radio 1140. And now, here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
All right, welcome back, Raider Nation. Welcome back to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. How you doing with the football withdrawal? Well, there was football yesterday. There's football today. We'll talk about that, of course. The inaugural weekend of the XFL is upon us. We will talk about that later. Yes, we're a Raiders show. Yes, we're the only all-Raiders show in Las Vegas. But that doesn't mean we won't talk about other subjects, especially when it's the offseason. We'll get to that in just a minute. But we're glad to have you with us as always. Coming up on today's show, we have a full show, not only with some great guests and conversation, but you can also call in. We have phones. Oh, my goodness. We have phones. 702-733-5968. That's 702-733-5968 if you want to get in on the conversation. Speaking of getting in the conversation, I bring in my co-host today, my lone co-host, as the international man of leisure, Chaz Osborne, is on assignment. He's away watching a golf tournament somewhere. And here is Kelly Kreiner. How you doing, Kelly?
I'm good, man. I like how you say on assignment when he's just not here. It's like Chaz is like I said, he's at a golf tournament. He's not on assignment. He's just not here.
Yeah, well, he's got things to do, man. He's got things to do, right? So he's that international man of leisure. People think it's kind of a joke, but it's actually there's with every joke there's a little bit of truth and seriousness there. And of course with Chaz, that's the way. But we miss him, and he'll be back on Tuesday night with us as we prepare for our final Silver and Black Tonight of the season. We go into hiatus. Obviously, we have Dodger baseball here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. So once the Super Bowl's over, we go a couple more weeks to wrap things up, and that will go on hiatus, and we'll be back in August or maybe even July, depending with all that's going on with the Raiders here in Las Vegas. We'll see how that all goes, but that'll be there. And so, again, we also stream the show on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. So if you're listening, great. TheRadio.com is awesome. You have the rewind feature. You have all that stuff. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the heart next to our station, CBS Sports Radio 1140, so you can always find us on Sunday mornings. Also, like us on YouTube, man. Subscribe. Make sure you hit that and squash that bell, that notifications bell, so you get alerted every time we are live or have new video. You'll see during the breaks on the video feed today, Kelly, the drone videos that I shot of the stadium at sunset and also of the Raiders' new headquarters, so watch out for that. But you can always get those videos by subscribing there as well. So, Kelly, it's interesting. I did watch the XFL, and we're going to talk about it later in the show. Because it just, it's football. We got to talk about it. But what's interesting, yesterday I was at Little League evaluations for my son. Okay. I coached youth sports for 23 years. My two older kids went through youth sports. It blows my mind, man. I worry about humanity when I'm at these things and I'm hearing people talking about 9-year-olds and their legs and how they look like a ball player and all this kind of stuff. It's like they're 9 years old.
Well, I mean, for most parents, they're already getting that Cooperstown plaque working out, because their kid's the one that's got to make it.
Yeah, well, of course, and that's the thing. Again, it's a football show, I know, but I just have to go on this aside because we expect so much out of people, out of kids, and we're going to talk a lot about the draft in segments 2 and 3 here as we have our first guest of the hour coming up, Tom Fornelli from CBSSports.com, who says in his mock draft that the Raiders will trade 2 number 1 picks to move up to draft Tua. So make sure but that's going to be at the bottom of the hour. But all of these people, Kelly, you look at these younger players. I don't care if they're in college or they're in Little League. The problem is the expectations from a very early age are ridiculous. And somehow people think that if your kid plays baseball all the time or plays football all the time and that they're good at a young age, that when they hit puberty and everything changes, like that's just going to continue. And even those kids that are good in high school and college, we set them up for expectations, Kelly. I don't know. Can anybody ever live up to expectations anymore?
I mean, well, that's the whole thing. It's like you've always had, like when I was growing, like you just said, Little League evaluations. When I was a kid, if you wanted to play Little League, you just played. You just signed up and you were on a team.
Yeah.
You didn't go through evaluation. They just split you up and you would show up. Okay, this is, you'd get something from your coach. Here's our practice schedule. Here's your team. Blah blah blah. That's all you did. You didn't have. And I grew up in Indiana, so basketball was a lot bigger than baseball.
Right.
You would have a lot of summer basketball tournaments and things like that, but you didn't have traveling teams. You didn't have all these things. Now, if you have enough money, anybody can have an AAU team.
Yes.
Basically, you're just paying to have your kid play baseball or basketball, whatever, the whole summer. Before you had to be, each town might have, each large town might have one AAU team. Now there's 5. So it's just a proliferation of sports because it's a money grab, like everything else, has gotten to the point to where it's gotten so out of hand.
It's gotten out of hand, and again, I want to say this too because I'm a parent, 5 kids. Kelly, you don't have kids. It's our fault as parents because parents set this up, right? Now there's business interests now youth sports is such a big business now. It wasn't when we were younger. And you're right. Evaluations for Little League, they claim they're to balance teams out, which actually makes sense. So you have kids come out. They're not trying out. They're coming out, and you're evaluating where they're at on a scale of 1 to 10, so that you don't have a team full of 10s and a team full of 1s. I get
You're
that.
still going to have a team full of 10s.
Yes.
It's amazing how that works out.
Yes, because, again, there's great people who serve and do things for youth sports, including being on boards of Little Leagues and all this kind of stuff. But my experience over those 20-plus years of coaching in all levels has been that a lot of them are people who don't have a lot of control in life, and so when they get control there, they like to do things like stock teams because they're worried about winning All-Stars, right, which comes out after the season. So it's too bad, but and we see it in football too now. We see it, and I think you have a kid come up, and he's a good high school player, and he gets into college, he's a good college player, and suddenly can't make it in the NFL, and you want to dub him a failure. Well, he paid for his education, all that stuff, but it's just strange to me. And if you have kids, and if you have kids in youth sports, just support them. Don't worry about whether they're going to be, the next Patrick Mahomes or the next Joe Burrow. Just support them and be a positive influence. Let the coaches coach. That's another thing I could go on for days about. Where I had parents coaching in the stands constantly. It drove me nuts. But just enjoy your sports. And if your kid's playing, enjoy it. But, Kelly, today, a couple things we're going to talk about. One, with Tom Fornelli at the bottom of the hour, of course, is about the Raiders draft. That's the interesting thing. Now, Raider, your Twitter handle, @RatingTheDraft, by the way, you got to follow Kelly if you don't. Rating the Draft. Kelly's specialty, you are just, besides gaming, you are a draft. You're a draft Nick, right? You always have been. You know the draft better than anybody else I know personally. Is mock draft season is here. Now it's really early. To me, I don't understand these people who hate on mock drafts because, this is too early. Why are you doing that? You're just trying to get clicks. Well, no, the football's over. We're just trying to have a conversation. How do you feel about these early mock drafts?
I mean, they're fun because you ask anybody that does mock draft, because like I said, the drafts got so big. You have people that are doing mock drafts on a weekly basis. You're not changing your information on that much. When you see one person do multiple mock drafts in a week, basically they're just trying out scenarios to see how this stuff happens. Because as we all know, the draft never goes as everybody expects. There's always a curveball in there that completely changes stuff. There's always a team like Cincinnati that screws something up. So I mean, it's like you're always, I think the best mock draft people get maybe 8 picks out of 32 right.
Right.
So it's like you'll see all these mock drafts out there because everybody's just throwing out scenarios. Now, is it too early for them? I can see where you can say that, but guess what? People are still consuming this, so there's enough of a need for it or people wouldn't do it.
Right.
Because it's not like people are just sitting around, well, yeah, you do this for fun when you're kind of into it, but if nobody's reading it, nobody's wanting it, you wouldn't see this mass number of them. You'd see 4 instead of 400. There wouldn't be websites that are completely 100% draft-related mock draft stuff.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Well, and just like any other interest or hobby, if you will, right? Because if you're a sports fan, it's basically a hobby, right? Because you're not actually playing professional sports. You have a team. You have a passion around it. It's not unlike people who are into Star Wars, right? Let's just use that as an example. I don't see people saying, don't tell me what the next movie might be. Let's just wait till they officially announce. No, with football, you see that. I see a lot of people, because we've been doing stories We've been talking about Tom Brady. We're talking today with Vincent Frank from Sports Not in the second hour about if the Raiders move on from Derek Carr, where might he go? It's a legitimate question, right? And I get a lot of people who are saying, you don't know what Mayock's going to do. You don't know what Gruden's going to do. Just shut up, stop. And it's like, no, because it's just part of the conversation. We're talking about something we love. People who love the Raiders are talking about the Raiders and what might happen with them in the draft, with free agency and all that kind of stuff. So I don't understand people who just, you want to go into a cocoon and not talk football for the next 3 months, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's like you said, you don't know. They're saying, you don't know what Mayock and Gruden don't know what they're doing right now.
Because they don't know the opportunities
I was going
ahead
to say,
of them.
then that's 100% because they don't know what's going to come up.
Yeah.
You know, they might be having their heads like, you know what, we're going ahead with Carr, blah, 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 this is what we're doing.
Right.
And then somebody might come up with a trade offer, or somebody might fall in the draft, or a free agent might become available. You know, it's like, and it's stupid because the whole Brady stuff, when, you know, the news flash that came out that John Gruden would be interested in Tom Brady if he did. I got a news flash. I have breaking news right now. My source is common sense. If Drew Brees becomes available, John Gruden would be interested in Drew Brees. If Pat Mahomes becomes available for some reason, John Gruden would be it. No, yeah.
31 coaches would be interested.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's like, duh. Yeah.
Well, and Kelly, as we come up here on the first break, I think that's the interesting point is, and I had some guy on our YouTube channel was talking just ridiculousness of mock drafts, and anybody who publishes mock drafts, you shouldn't even visit their site. And then I pointed him to the link on the Raiders site where the Raiders are on their official website doing mock draft tracking. Right. So again, it's part of the business. It's part of the NFL. It's part of the off season, quote unquote, off season now. And we'll continue to do it too. And we're going to talk about that as well. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the draft and what the Raiders and others may do with, of course, our in-house draft expert. And that is Mr. Kelly Kreiner. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Unfiltered hockey talk for Golden Knights fans.
Ryan Reeves does way more than fight. If you think he's just a fighter, you are not watching the same game we are, because he's one of the, for his size, and I've said this several times.
He skates pretty freaking well.
His skating ability for his size is unbelievable. He should not be able to skate nearly as well. I'm not talking about speed. I'm talking about edge work, people, because that's what separates the people in the NHL these days.
Join us for the Nightcap with Lindsey Brown. Monday nights at 6 on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Hey, students and parents, Sprint wants to help your school win $5,000. Stop by any Sprint store this week and nominate your school to win $5,000. No purchase necessary. K-12 public, private, and charter schools are eligible. Voting opens Monday, 2/10 through Sunday, 2/16 at all Sprint stores. Remember, your school can't win if you don't vote.
The law office of Michael A. Troiano is a proud supporter of all things Las Vegas, including its people, specializing in legal representation for all criminal defense matters ranging from misdemeanors to the most serious felonies. Attorney Michael Troiano provides clients with the legal strategy and professional representation needed in court. If you or a loved one find yourself in a legal situation and need a tough defense on your side, Michael Troiano can help. Call now for a free consultation, 702-843-5500, or learn more at TroianoVegasLaw.com.
People who name their savings accounts save more than those who don't. The following was inspired by a Navy Federal Credit Union savings account named Family Vacation.
This was such a good call.
Oh, we needed this. What do you think the kids are up to?
Relaxing.
Open a Save First account with us and give a name to what you're saving for. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Visit NavyFederal.org to learn more. Open to the armed forces, the DoD, veterans, and their families. Insured by NCUA.
At Westin Hotels & Resorts, our entire reason for being is your well-being, which is why our wellness offerings are curated with one thing in mind: you. An Eat Well menu crafted with fresh ingredients, an on-demand fitness gear lending program that allows you to pack light and stay fit, and our heavenly bed that helps you conquer the day by giving you a restful night. All of it just for you, so you can rise. Explore at Westin.com, a member of Marriott Bonvoy.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. I'm a better neighbor because my service has taught me how important it is to be a team player. My training helps me in my classes when I give attention to detail to the task at hand. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my country safe from threats. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Nevada Army National Guard. Aired by the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Cliff Branch, formerly of the Oakland Raiders, 3-time Super Bowl champ, 4-time Pro Bowl, and you listen to the Silver and Black Show.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140, brought in by the late, great Cliff Branch, who I know Raider fans miss every day. Just him walking on the earth was good for everybody, including Raider Nation. All right, we're jumping back in, and we're going to be talking this segment about the NFL draft, and what is going on. Don't miss bottom of the hour. We'll be talking to Tom Fornelli from CBSSports.com. He created an uproar amongst Raiders fans, and he's not a big Raiders. He doesn't cover the Raiders a lot. So when I was getting ready to interview him and talk to him before the show, he told me that he suddenly knew about he didn't know about the whole Carr rift in Raider Nation, and now he knows. He got a full dose of it after his mock draft, and we're going to talk to him after the next break, so stay with us on that one. All right, Kelly, let's jump in now and talk a little bit about draft. As our good friend Mr. Smith on YouTube says, it's never too early to talk about draft. If you look at where the Raiders are, 12 and 19, we're starting to hear this week, and I want to get your reaction to this. We heard that, of course, through media reports, that the Bengals are entertaining offers for number one. Now, who wouldn't, number one? So it's not a surprise to me. But number two, what's the percentage chance that the Bengals, if somebody offers them the world, trade out of that spot?
For a normal franchise and a real good team, I would say it's about 1%. But I mean, we still are talking about the Bengals. It's a franchise that's shown that it's not exactly the most well-oiled machine you're going to run around. So I mean, and I don't care what anybody says. There's no such thing as an undraftable person. It just would take a monster offer. You know, the Lakers would trade LeBron James tomorrow if they got a good enough offer.
Right,
Now,
of course.
Obviously, that's not going to, because it'd be such a big thing, it's not going to happen. The Bengals will trade the first pick tomorrow if they got a good enough offer. It's just whether or not somebody's going to throw enough at you. You know, if Miami comes and says, we'll give you our 3 first-round picks and a first-round pick next year to go to 5, that's happening. But Miami's not doing that. Nobody's trading 4 draft picks to move up to take Joe Burrow in this draft. You know, so it's like, yeah, you listen to the offers because you never know what crazy thing's going to throw out there.
Right.
But yeah, I put the odds of them trading that first round pick about 5%.
5%, yeah. And to me, who would trade to number one? I mean, out of all the teams that need quarterbacks, you have the Chargers that need one. You have the Dolphins clearly that need one. The Dolphins have 1 million picks, so they could trade up. But if that 5% chance happened, and someone was going to trade up to number one with the Bengals, who's the most likely candidate?
It is Miami, because they have so many picks. And we forget Miami's famously the team that failed Drew Brees on a physical, which is why Nick Saban in Alabama became a college dynasty.
Yes.
Nick Saban wanted Drew Brees, the team physician. They wouldn't sign off of it, and the owner said no, so they went Dante Culpepper instead. If the hip comes back with Tua that they think it's an issue, Miami's got the firepower to move up to 1, and I mean, I was reading somewhere the other day they're doing a lot of homework on Justin Herbert, and I'm like, well, duh, because they have to, because if Tua's hip's healthy, you're taking him at 5 if he's there. If it's not healthy, you're not taking him at all. That's all you need to know about him.
Right.
You need to look at Herbert because you're not sure what you have there. You know, Tua, if he wasn't without the injury, Tua would have been up there arguing the number 1 pick. You could go either way.
Even with Burrow's big run at the end.
If Tua's healthy, it's an argument at Burrow and Tua, and I still say Tua's a better quarterback.
Well, and that's the question with Tua. I see a lot of fans, especially Raider fans, after our guest at the bottom of the hour, Tom Fornelli from CBSSports.com, comes on to talk about them trading up for Tua. I've seen a lot of fans. He's injury prone. And of course there is concern with the injury. There's no doubt about that. You have to be, right? But is that overplayed? And I think people forget about how good the kid really is.
It is overplayed a little bit because the ankle injuries aren't that big of an issue, but the hip injury is a freak issue. You know, we see people get tackled hundreds of times a game every week, all the time. you rarely see an injury. Like, this is just something that happened. If he's healthy, it's not like this has a high chance of recurrency. It's not like a separated shoulder. It's not like, foot injury. This is, it either heals or it doesn't. There's no in between, and that's what they have to figure out. Yeah. Like I said, but the ankle stuff, it's not like it's the same ankle. It's been different ankles. So he's had both of them worked on. But even then, in the pros, that's something you can work around a lot that you're just not going to do in college. Right. Because you're not getting a check and they're not shooting you up with horse tranquilizers like they will in the pros.
Oh my goodness, yeah, no, that's very true. Now when we look at this draft, I'm beginning more as I look more into it and get prepared for it, because the draft is going to actually be here in exactly 2 months in Las Vegas. We're going to be very busy at that time, both on the air and off. Is that wide receiver class? We've known for a long time how deep it is, right? It is just, and I keep looking at it and saying to myself, with so many there, now you have those top 4 or 5 guys who should go in the first round, but coming out of the combine and all that kind of stuff, could we see a lot of those receivers, because there's so many of them, move down a little bit? I'm not talking about the Lambs and the Judys, because I think they're bona fide first rounders. If they don't go in the first round, something bad happened. But for the rest of them, there's a lot of great receivers out there. Could we see that market move down a little bit, and you might be able to get an even better guy in the second round because there are so many?
Well, yeah, I think there's 3 top guys, and then that's when you start, the discussion of about 6 or 8 guys together that one, this team will like this guy will like this guy. Is this guy a 2? Is this guy a slot? That's where you really start to get into the bulk of the draft. And yeah, you will see some of the guys kind of slide, because people will be like, yeah, we can get a guy in the second or the third round.
Right.
I think you're going to see a big run of wide receivers in the second round.
Yeah.
Which is why when you said on Twitter you didn't think the Raiders had to go first round wide receiver.
If they get a second round.
Well, yeah, but that's a big if,
saying.
Because right now they don't have one. They can't wait till the third round, because they need a number 1. They don't need a slot. They don't need a number 2. They need a Judy, Lamb, or Ruggs, in my opinion. They need one of those 3, because I really like Shenault. He's not a prototypical number 1.
Right.
And I don't think John Gruden would have any idea how to use this kid. So I'm hoping he doesn't get drafted by the Raiders, because it'll just ruin his career. Jeffrey's out of LSU, I think, is a slot. Hamler's another guy that's going to be late first round. He's a slot. A lot of these guys are slots and number 2s, and that's something the Raiders don't need.
No, you're absolutely right. But then the question is, are there, again, we don't know this, but we're just speculating because it's fun to talk about. Might they try to go the veteran route on number 1 and pull a trade or something? We'll talk about that later too, because there are opportunities out there. We heard for the first time, I don't put a lot of stock in it because it's a very early report and it's from isolated sources, but I've seen Stephon Diggs' name point out, why would Minnesota want to trade him? I have no idea. And, of course, you have the Odell Beckham situation in Cleveland, which doesn't seem to get better and doesn't seem to be the best place for him after all. So with that in mind, I think Raiders fans, yes, they need a number 1 receiver, Kelly, but it doesn't necessarily have to come from the source you think it comes from.
Well, no, but are you going to roll the dice on Odell Beckham after?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If I'm trading for a Cleveland wide receiver, it's Jarvis Landry, because he's a better wide receiver than Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, he's got the name. He makes some great catches. Just give me the guy that's out there every week and plays football really well.
Yes.
That's Jarvis Landry.
Yeah.
The Robbie Anderson thing's been thrown out there. If you think he's a 1 that you're going to pay a lot of money for,
no way.
That's just, I don't get that at all.
Yeah.
He shows flashes of that, deep threat that the people want. He's not consistent at all, and I think would be a huge waste of money, especially in the Raiders system.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of stuff out there that's easily obtainable.
Right. Now we shift gears. We talk about defense in the draft. Of course, Isaiah Simmons to me is the guy. If there's any possible way, I don't think he'll be there at number 12. But if, let's say, he doesn't have the greatest combine, I think he's such an interesting right. I think he's such an interesting player, and he's so different than anything we've seen in a long time. And I was having a conversation with a friend. I said, he's a generational player, and he said, well, you had a generational player in Khalil Mack. They traded him away. And I said, yes, but Simmons is much different because he's kind of a hybrid, and that makes him, I think, valuable because you don't know if he's just dropping into coverage or if he's going to rush the passer. Is there any way that guy falls in this draft short of some disastrous event occurring.
It's possible, but I don't really think it happens. You know, linebacker's not really a premium position for really anybody in the NFL. They always seem to slip a little bit. He is such a unique talent, though, because, I mean, it's funny because he's listed as a linebacker, but he played more safety and corner in college than he did linebacker. You know, you can watch film of him playing single high safety and just reading and recognizing play calls and, you know, knocking down passes, picking off passes that most safeties in college can't do.
Right,
you know,
right.
I think if you draft him and say he's our linebacker and that's all you're doing is, one, you're losing a lot of his value, but two, you're basically stunning his career because he's not just a linebacker. And, you know, it's like he could be an amazing middle linebacker. You know, you could put him in the center of that defense. He can go side to side. He can do anything. And in 5 or 6 years, he could be a great player. But that's not how you're going to get the most out of right. Simmons. You're going to have to move him around. You know, he can play on every down because he can cover a tight end. He can go in the slot. You don't want him against slots in the NFL all the time.
Right.
But you can in nickel, you can in dime.
Right.
Because he's that athletic. You know. And it's funny because I've been saying the whole time I wanted the Raiders to get him. I think he's basically squandered in Gunther's system because Gunther has no idea how to use him.
Well, he's a great talent, and there's some folks out there who look at him and they say, well, he's just like you said, he's played in different positions, and he hasn't played linebacker. Why would you draft him if you need a linebacker? He's not a full linebacker, and clearly they just don't watch enough college football or have not watched him because, and plus in the NFL, because you played a position in college doesn't mean you can't transition and do well where they need you somewhere else. So it'll be interesting. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we're going to talk with Tom Fornelli. Do the Raiders trade up for Tua? That's the question. We'll ask him, and he'll tell us. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
CBS Sports Radio. The only way to take Silver and Black today with you is with a radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. We go out on the attorney Michael Troiano newsmaker line and we bring in CBSSports.com college football writer Tom Fornelli, who joins us from Chicago. Tom, thanks very much for being with us here on CBS Sports Radio in Las Vegas.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, let's jump in. You got the ire of some Raiders fans up over the last week because I don't know if you know this, but in Raider Nation, there is really, it sort of mirrors the national political scene where 50% of people despise Derek Carr and don't want him as the Raiders quarterback. The other 50% love and adore him and would do anything to make sure that he remains a Raider. So we've heard a lot, obviously, over the last several weeks with the Tom Brady sighting here in Las Vegas with Mark Davis and the fact that his name, since he's a free agent, has been bantied around and maybe he might come to Las Vegas and end his career as a Raider in Sin City. But then also this time of the year, writers like you and us here on the radio show, we start doing our mock drafts. And you did a mock draft up on CBS.com, which we will link up on our site. And you had, as the first kind of really big movement there, of course, you had Joe Burrow 1 to the Bengals and Chase Young 2 to the Redskins, which I think everybody agrees that, you know, the chances of that not happening are pretty slim. But at number 3 comes your first big surprise of your first mock, and that is the Raiders taking their number 12 and number 19 pick in the first round, trading it up to the Lions at number 3 to grab Tua Tagovailoa. So tell me a little bit about why you think that's going to happen and how much of that Brady rumor and so on with Derek Carr played into your thinking there with this trade up in the draft.
No, it played a role in the fact that if the Brady rumor is true, and I think that, you know, I don't know how true it is, but I think that if you're the Raiders and Tom Brady is showing any kind of interest in coming, then you kind of, you know, you have to listen. It's just, I look at the situation with the draft and with the Raiders, and like you said, I was not aware, as you mentioned, the current political climate surrounding Derek Carr with Raiders fans. It's like I figured that, like any team, there's always going to be some fans that like their current quarterback, and other fans who are always eyeing that backup on the roster that nobody knows. But yeah, since posting this mock draft, I have really become immersed in Raiders fans and their feelings towards Carr. But I just think that at some point, I don't know if Derek Carr is the answer. And if you're John Gruden and you're Mike Mayock, and what John Gruden signed that 10-year contract, so he's obviously going to be there for a while. And at some point, you need to make that move for your franchise quarterback. And while Derek Carr, I think, is a better quarterback than a lot of people want to give him credit for, because a few years ago he was having a great season before he broke his leg, I think that, it's pretty clear that Carr is not the guy that's going to take you to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl for you. I think that he's an above average NFL starter, but if you want to become that kind of Super Bowl contender, you need to take a shot on a franchise QB. And I look at this draft, in the mock draft at number 3, where Detroit is, and I just don't see any scenario where you see a lot of mocks where the Dolphins went into 2019 with the whole quote-unquote tank for Tua kind of, narrative surrounding
Absolutely.
them. Yeah, and they ended up getting the 5th pick. They didn't even get the number 1 pick. But all these mock drafts, you see them just saying, well, we'll sit at 5 and Tua will fall to us because these other teams, don't need quarterbacks. But that's never how it works. And like you said, the Bengals are going to take Burrow at number 1. I think that's a given. I think it's near certainty that the Redskins at number 2, seeing as how they took Dwayne Haskins last year, are going to take Chase Young, who is the best player in this draft. It's just he doesn't play quarterback, so he can't go number 1 overall. And then yet number 3, you have the Lions, who one of their biggest needs is cornerback. And you see a lot of mock drafts having them take Jeff Okudah. But when was the last time we saw a cornerback taken with the number 3 pick? I just don't see a scenario in which the Lions are going to stick at number 3, especially when you consider Matt Patricia, their head coach, where he came from, what, Bill Belichick, that whole school of Belichick and the way they've approached the draft. I don't see a scenario in which the Lions aren't heavily shopping that number 3 pick to any of the QB needy teams, because I do feel like somebody is going to jump up to that number 3 spot to take Tua, or maybe Justin Herbert, or, Jordan Love, if they fall in love, whoever it ends up having to be. And with the stuff that was going on, like you said, with the Tom Brady stuff, and just looking at the situation and seeing that the Raiders have that extra first-round pick that they got from the Bears in the Khalil Mack trade, saying to myself, you know what? They could be that team that makes that move and tries to jump ahead of the Dolphins at number 5 if they want to get Tua, because that's the way that it works in the draft. If there's a quarterback that you want, you really can't afford to just sit there, cross your fingers, and hope that they fall to you. You're going to have to move up. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami does want Tua. It could be Miami that moves up, even if it's only 2 spots, to get the number 3 spot, to get Tua, to keep somebody from moving up. Kind of like what, as a Chicagoan, I can remember a few years ago, the Bears trading up literally 1 spot in the first round because they were worried somebody would trade ahead of them to draft Mitch Trubisky, which, wow, that's worked out great. But it's just
the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, so when I look at the teams that I think are going to be in the market for a quarterback this offseason, the Raiders strike me as one, and I think that with Mayock and Gruden, you have guys who are aggressive, and if they decide that that's who they want to get, I wouldn't be shocked at all if they package their their 2 first-round picks, or if they come up with some kind of package to move up to that number 3 spot to get them, because there is nothing more valuable in the NFL right now than a quarterback on a rookie deal.
Yes, I'm glad you said that, and I think that's the issue for Raiders fans too. And again, we're talking to Tom Fornelli, CBSSports.com, college football writer, about his latest mock draft where he has the Raiders trading up for Tua, trading up to number 3 with their 12th and 19th pick. Tom, when you talk about that last statement that you just made about going up and getting a quarterback, because that position and that situation in the NFL we just saw it, right? We saw it with Patrick Mahomes and what he did with the Chiefs. The Chiefs were good with Alex Smith, but Alex Smith was a game manager. Alex Smith was a good, solid quarterback. Nothing taken away from him, but to kick it into that next gear, I think that's where people sometimes forget. It's not always that you don't like the guy you have. It's just, as Mike Mayock said several weeks ago, if you can get better at a position, and that means any position, you do so, right? And the quickest way to do that is to do that in the draft, especially when you have draft capital, correct?
Correct. And again, if you can get better at any position, you want to get better. If you can get better at the quarterback position, which is the most important position on your team, Well, it's kind of a no-brainer. And as we saw, like I said, the most valuable thing in the NFL is a quarterback on a rookie contract, especially if that quarterback is good. I can't remember the stat exactly, but I saw it earlier. Like for the last 10 seasons, the quarterback with the largest cap hit in any given season has missed the playoffs 8 of the last 10 years, because in this salary cap era, when you've got to put together an entire team, when you see quarterbacks taking up such huge chunks of salary cap space, it's hard to build a good team around that. So that's why, the Chiefs are in a spot. They just won the Super Bowl. They've got tons of cap space right now. And there's the question of whether or not they're going to give Mahomes the extension now, or if they're going to wait a little longer, which way is smarter to do it. But at some point, obviously, they have to do it. It's just the goal now. A general manager's biggest problem is figuring out a way to first of all, get a good quarterback, and 2, then surround that quarterback with the kind of talent that you need to win. And then when you have to pay that quarterback, that's when things get tricky.
Well, that's the interesting thing with the Raiders, because a lot of what Raider fans talk about, and even some of the folks that cover the team, Tom, is the fact that, look, the Raiders, their defense is just downright bad. It got better towards the end of the year. They need bodies. They also need a number 1 wide receiver. So I think a lot of people get distracted by that, thinking that, well, geez, because you need bodies all over the defense, you have to do that all through the draft, which we know is not true. And if you look at the draft, yes, there's some defensive players I think that could help them, especially at the top of the first round, which I don't think they're going to have a shot at, like Isaiah Simmons and some of these other guys. So when you're looking at that, you as a GM, you have to look at the situation and say, okay, am I 2 to 3 years or less away from maybe making a run? And if I can do that, like you said, with a quarterback on a rookie contract, that allows me to do more with that roster.
Yeah, I mean, we see it every single year. You can have a 2-3 year plan, and it can work. But you also don't need to put together. I mean, San Francisco was 4-12 in 2018, and they were about 10 minutes away from winning the Super Bowl in 2019. So you don't need to have like a long-term rebuild. You could do it through the draft, and sometimes you roll the dice and you get lucky. But it's one of those situations where if you draft a defensive end with the first pick's at number 12, or they had the number 12 pick and the 19th pick. If they stay there at number 12, maybe somebody like an AJ Benisa falls, or Kayvon Chase, somebody that you like falls to you at number 12, and maybe that player changes things for you. He provides a huge impact, suddenly turns on your entire defense. That'd be great. It's much more likely that a quarterback's going to turn your team around than a linebacker, though.
Absolutely. Tom Fornelli from CBSSports.com joins us. And, Tom, if we look at the rest of this draft, we're talking about 2. We're talking about quarterbacks, of course, Burrow at the top of the draft. And then you have Justin Herbert, and you're hearing about Jordan Love from out near us here in the Mountain West Conference. And those guys. But after that, it kind of falls off. And we'll see what Jordan Love does during the Combine. But what else are you seeing right now? Because you watch college football more than anybody. What are you seeing in that first round? What might surprise us about some players or positions that might move up in that first round and really surprise folks?
I think it's, in a strange way, this is a wide receiver class that's very deep. Like the Combine numbers came out, and I think there's going to be 55 wide receivers invited to the Combine. Yeah, which just gives you an idea of how many guys are available. And in a way, I think that's going to kind of depress the wide receiver market in the first round. Whereas there's a lot of guys in this draft who I think are first round talents. But I don't think you're going to see a lot of them take it in the first round, simply because teams are going to say, well, yeah, but if we wait to the next round, somebody similar is still going to be available. So I think that we're going to see like names like CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, T. Higgins, Laviska Shenault, even Justin Jefferson. These are guys that you see mentioned as first round guys who I think probably aren't going to be taken till the bottom half of the first round and maybe the early second round. So you're going to see a lot of talented receivers dropping into the second to middle later rounds. And I think that's another reason, like you mentioned, the Raiders have a need at wide receiver. I don't think they need to go for one with their first 2 picks in the first round. Obviously, if they keep both their picks, they can, if there's somebody that they really want. But if you're the Raiders and you wait till the 3rd or 4th round, there's a good chance you're going to be able to find a good wide receiver prospect in that spot. So I think that's the one position that we're not going to see the draft position that is based on the actual talent available.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've been talking a lot about that, telling fans and our listeners and readers that, hey, listen, you don't have to get a guy in the first round. You can go second, third round in this draft because it is so deep, like you said, to address that. One more question before I let you go, and this is, of course, related to your hometown there. What will the Bears do? Are the Bears going to go out and get a quarterback? Not necessarily in the draft, but free agent. What do you think they're going to end up doing?
I think that Andy Dalton's going to be a Chicago Bear.
Nice one.
Yeah, they hired Bill Lazor as their offensive coordinator, who was coach Dalton in Cincinnati, and they've got a couple other guys in their coaching staff that have a history with Dalton. So all the signs point to me that once Cincinnati just probably cuts Dalton after drafting Burrow, the Bears will probably end up with Dalton because they have made it clear that they want to have competition for Trubisky going into next season, and I think they mean that because I think that they know that while they could publicly support him and say everything's great and we still believe in him, the window for this team is closing pretty quickly, so they have to have legitimate competition around there. So I think that they'll probably address that in free agency and in the draft. They'll probably get I think if Cole Kmet falls to the Bears in the second round, you could pretty much lock it up that they're going to draft him at tight end.
Nice. Well, Tom Fornelli, of course, CBS Sports .com covers college football, has done that since 2010 there. We appreciate you being on, and we'll touch base with you closer to the draft.
Look forward to it. Thank you for having me on.
All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, the Silver and Black Today rolls on. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to CBS Sports Radio 1140.
You found the most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black. This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
Welcome as we roll on to the bottom of the hour. Through the bottom of the hour, I want to thank again Tom Fornelli for joining us and talking about his sort of love-hate mock draft. You either loved it or hated it if you're a Raiders fan. Hearing from a lot of people in our video chats and our video stream on both YouTube, Facebook, and actually all three on Periscope with their thoughts on Tua. And first of all, Kelly, I know you have a strong opinion about and we all do mock drafts and we reach on some of the picks. But when you look at Tom's mock draft and you have the Raiders trading up to 3, talk about why you don't see that happening no matter what.
There's not enough draft capital in Oakland's draft for it. I noticed he added a second-round pick next year to the 12 and 19. That second next year basically is an equivalent of a third this year. And if anybody else wants Tua that's in that top 10, they can beat that pick. They can beat that because Miami can blow that out of the water. But the drop-off to go from 3 to 12 and go from a Jeffrey Okudah to maybe a Christian Fulton or to go from a Simmons to a Murray is just too big of a drop-off to only get the 19th pick and a pick next year.
Right.
So I just don't think they have enough capital to get up there. And like I said, if the Lions want to move down, but you have to realize you can't move down too far and lose out on a premium talent.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But let me ask you this question, because we're getting a lot of feedback from our folks in the social channels this morning listening to the show about Tua's injury. I know we talked about it before the last break, but when you look at Tua, a lot of people are saying, why would you trade for a guy who's injury prone? I don't think they're seeing just how talented this guy is. And yes, you have concern of an injury, but you check that all out before you draft a kid.
The hip's a freak injury.
Right.
This is just something that doesn't happen. If you want to say he was injury prone because of the ankles, I can kind of get that. But like I said, the ankles aren't that big of a deal for an NFL franchise. They're not going to look at that injury. There's no way that's going to even be a blip if you think Tua is a franchise quarterback, which I do.
Right.
We're all talking about this because of the hip, and that is a big issue. But I don't think you can pin that on him and say, oh, man, he's injury prone. He fractured his hip.
Right.
He's not an 80-year-old person.
And it's fracturing his hip. Raider fans know all about hips because, unfortunately, what happened to Bo Jackson a while ago before they have new remedies to fix these things and all that kind of stuff. But the hip injury to Tua is not like a career-ending type injury that you have to come back from.
No, and everything you've heard is they're expecting him to come back, be healthy.
Right.
If he comes back and, like I said, he's healthy, he's worth whatever it takes to get him. You know, it'll be interesting because at the combine, you got the medicals, but I don't think you're going to get any clearance. I mean, I don't think you're going to get any clarity at the combine.
No, it's too early.
You're going to have to wait for the recheck, and then you're still going to be kind of in the dark a little bit. Because, I mean, if the thing that made him so good was just the power he got, in his throw through his legs and through his hips and everything. And if that's not there, it's going to be, I mean, that's a big drop in what he does best. But like I said, that's something your medical staff's going to have to look at it. That's something they're going to have to figure out. But if they're signing off on this and they think he's going to be what he was, he's worth whatever it takes to get him.
Yeah, and I think that's where people say, well, we have so many needs. But again, and you heard...
Yeah, but you can have so many needs, but if you don't have a quarterback, every other need is dwarfed.
So that I'm glad you said that because there's people that were chatting with us saying, no, you need to do what the Niners did and build a defense first. But then I said, did the Niners win the Super Bowl? And the answer is no.
No, but the Niners made the Super Bowl.
They did.
And the Niners also didn't do anything until they had a quarterback.
Right. People forget how effective Jimmy Garoppolo was during the season. He had the last few games of the playoffs, but he even won those games. He just didn't win the Super Bowl. And so, to me, you're right. I think, again, and our good friend Ed Marshall up in Alaska says this all the time, and I used to argue it with him, but then I looked at it and did my research, and it's true what you said, Kelly. You can't get, in today's NFL, you cannot get anywhere without a quarterback. Doesn't matter. I mean, look at the Bears. The Bears had a very good defense, right? What did they do at quarterback? Nothing. They lost games because of it. They could not score, and there you go. You have to have a quarterback. So if you can go up and get what you believe to be a franchise-quality quarterback that's going to be with you 10 years, like a Tua, like a Joe Burrow, then you have to do it. You cannot – while you can do it, you have to do it.
It's easier to build a good team around a quarterback than try to stick a quarterback into a good team.
There you go. I like the way you said. All right. Well, we are coming up on the end of the first hour. Just to highlight second hour, Vincent Frank from Sportsnot, sports writer and editor there, he's going to talk with us. So let's say this scenario happened and the Raiders went a different direction at quarterback. Where does Derek Carr go? Derek Carr is a good quarterback. Where's he going to go if it's not with the Raiders? Vincent will tell us his 5 spots and where Carr might go. We'll also talk XFL, Kelly's Corner, and more in hour 2. It's coming right up. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
We've got your Raiders covered.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
It's Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio 1140. And now, here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140 as we approach in just a few weeks our 100th show. That's right. 96 weeks of radio excellence.
You want to try that one more time?
No, I'm talking about radio excellence and I stumble on my words. You gotta love that. But anyway, we talk Raiders football all year long, guys. We don't have an off season here. We just keep rolling along. Don't forget, Tuesday night, Silver and Black tonight. Our nighttime show, 6 to 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Myself and Chaz Osborne are with you. Last episode of the season this week, and then we go on hiatus due to Dodger baseball, and then we'll be back with the NFL season. So don't miss that as well. And now we're going to talk about, so we spent the first part of the show talking about possibilities with draft, possibilities, of course. Tom Fornelli from CBSSports.com was with us and said in his latest mock draft, the Raiders could trade up and take Tua out of Alabama. So that would mean the Raiders would be moving on from their current quarterback, and that, of course, is Derek Carr. And this week on Sportsnot.com, great website, if you want to find good sports information. Their editor, NFL writer, and our good friend Vincent Frank joins us now to talk about what he wrote. And he wrote about where could Derek Carr wind up if he's not a Las Vegas Raider. So we go out on the attorney Michael Troiano newsmaker line, and we bring in Vincent now. How you doing today, my man?
Hey, Scott. How you doing, man?
Doing really well. Okay, so you're going to trigger – well, you already did because you wrote it. You're going to trigger 50% of Raider fans with even suggesting that Derek Carr is going somewhere else besides Las Vegas. But with all of the talk out there and all of what we're hearing about possibly the Raiders looking at Tom Brady and others and a young quarterback, when you sat down to write this and look at opportunities where Derek Carr might fit, kind of what was the criteria you first looked at?
A team that needs to stopgap quarterback, someone that can fill in for 2 or 3 years, or teams that might need a long-term option. I mean, Derek Carr's still not 30, so I mean, he could still be an option for 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was those two things, and is he an upgrade?
Yeah.
If you look at like Chicago, if you look at Chicago, he's definitely an upgrade from Mitch Trubisky. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And I think if you look at your story, and we'll just kind of run through some of those, and Kelly, you jump in when you want, but let's go through some of the teams you looked at and said, hey, there might be a possibility. And I think this is one that's really intriguing, and Kelly, I know you agree with this one, and that is the Carolina Panthers. Talk about what the situation in Carolina and them most likely looking to move on from Cam Newton, and why Derek Carr might be a good fit there.
Well, what I'm hearing is Cam Newton will be traded the next month and a half. So we'll hear reports of it before March 16th, which is the start of the new league year. It'll officially become a deal when the new league year starts. But he'll be gone. So we'll probably hear something in the next couple of weeks when it comes to Cam Newton. I don't know where he's going. New England's a choice if Tom Brady leaves. There's a bunch of options. Heck, the Raiders are an option for Cam Newton. But look, Matt Rule signed a 7-year contract, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
In the NFL, he signed a 5-year contract. Lynch and Shanahan got 6 for the 49ers. That was kind of surprising. But we're looking at a 7-year contract, so he's building for the future. He's not building for 2020 or 2021.
Right.
The idea here would be to either draft a quarterback in 2020 or wait until 2021 when you have other options out there and trade for Derek Carr, 2 or 3-year option for him. Seems to fit the offense that he had at Baylor at Temple. So It just makes too much sense.
Again, we're talking to Vincent Frank. Vincent is NFL writer and editor at Sportsnaut. Also, you can see his work at Forbes.com as well.
Hey, Vincent, it's Kelly. You mentioned the Bears in the article, and if a card trade to the Bears goes through, basically the Raiders are just going to get back the 2nd-round pick they put in the Khalil Mack trade. Do you think that's a stopping point just on PR alone to make that Mack trade look even worse for fans, or will Gruden and Mayock just kind of push that off on the last regime?
I'd say they push it off on the last regime, even though John Gruden is the last regime. I think they push it off, or they can just take the 18th pick in the 2nd round, which would be Chicago's pick.
Yeah,
so they're not literally taking back the pick they gave for Khalil Mack.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, but that's basically what it breaks down to.
Yeah.
They traded a 2nd-round pick and got a 2nd round. Now, my point was that either one they take, it basically just looks like, hey, that's the pick we gave up. We didn't have to in a trade we shouldn't have done.
If you want to save face, 2 third-round picks. 3rd-round pick this year, next year. If you want to save face. But I don't think the Raiders are in that PR game. I don't think John Gruden couldn't care less what fans think. Otherwise, he would not have traded.
Yeah, to trade. Well, and you talked about Matt Rule you talk about Matt Rule with a 7-year contract, and you're talking about Gruden, who's got a 10-year contract. And so you're right. He's going to be less concerned with the
he signed a 10-year contract. Crap. I totally forgot I was bringing up Shanahan and Rule, but wow, 10-year, you're right. So he's really less concerning about that.
Yeah, you don't have to be. It's not like you're a political position running every two years. He's got 10 years, so he doesn't need to worry about public sentiment. He's got to do what he thinks is right. And Vincent, the other teams that you mentioned as well, we talked about the Bears. We talked the Redskins. Now, this is an interesting one because Dwayne Haskins, it sounds like they're not obviously ready to rule him the starter in Washington, nor are they ready to give up on him with Ron Rivera coming in there. But what they might need is a guy to kind of tutor him along and be a steadying force there. That looks like it might be a good fit. Talk about D.C. and why D.C. Derek Carr might be a good fit in Washington.
Well, they blew up their front office last month. So whoever's running the ship, whether it's Doug Williams or Daniel Snyder, probably, they really didn't have. They're not the ones that took Dwayne Haskins. Daniel Snyder did not really want him. That was a Bruce Allen pick.
Yeah,
Bruce Allen's gone. So it's, again, you don't have a built-in relationship like Gruden didn't have with Derek Carr when he was hired by the Raiders. That was the previous regime. That was Reggie McKenzie. So the idea there is if you don't have a built-in relationship, the guy needs to prove himself to you all over again. And I'm not sure that Dwayne Haskins has done that, or the tape shows that he's done that. They're not going to trade him. They're not going to pull a Josh Rosen or anything. But I think they can go in there and, okay, we'll get Derek Carr. We'll sign him for a year or two. And then have Dwayne Haskins sit behind him. Because I don't think Dwayne Haskins is anywhere near ready, by the way.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but I also don't. I agree that they shouldn't give up on him yet. You're committed. He's on his rookie deal, so why would you move that quickly when you don't have a more viable option? But that's what they got Alex Smith, and he had that horrific injury, and so I think they were looking at finding a guy like that anyway, so he fits. Here's another one that to me is really intriguing, and that is the Indianapolis Colts, who appear to look at Jacoby Brissett and realize that he's going to be a career backup, a good one at that, but nonetheless a backup. Why would the Colts look at a Derek Carr who's a very efficient quarterback, a quarterback that's going to help you, I think, shore things up from an interception and a turnover perspective? But why the Colts?
I think it's a good fit for Frank Reich's offense. Again, you have an offensive-minded coach, former quarterback, and I think that's going to sit well with Derek Carr. I think he's going to turn to that, and he's going to improve because he has that with him. Him and John Gruden just never really got along. So you got to find a fit in terms of, apparently, Derek Carr has an ego. So you got to find a fit with someone that's going to be able to handle that ego, and that's quarterback-centric.
Right.
And Frank Reich's quarterback-centric. He's an upgrade from Jacoby Brissett. They have the defense. They're not going to ask him to go out there and put 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns. Manage the game and don't turn the ball over. And the Colts are probably the best team in that division if that happens.
Yeah.
The last half of last year, Jacoby Brissett was one of the 5 worst quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, it was, and I really thought he would do better than he did, which surprised me, but nonetheless. Yeah. Now, Vincent, I know you also had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers there, who've also been linked to Phillip Rivers, as it looks like Jameis Winston won't be likely back due to his crazy numbers of scoring a ton of touchdowns, but also just turning the ball over at an amazing rate. For Derek Carr to go to Tampa Bay, Derek Carr, fair or not, is often criticized for not being a guy who goes deep very often, and it looks like the Buccaneers are built for that. Could he fit there nonetheless?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think he can. I mean, all you have to look at is Bruce Arians' history and going after veteran quarterbacks. Derek Carr is out. Phillip Rivers is the number one option for Tampa Bay. He moved to Florida from Southern California. So I'm assuming he's going to go to Tampa Bay, but on the off chance that Phillip Rivers head to Vegas, sorry, Raider fans, then I think that Tampa Bay opens up and looks at him and the other options out there. Derek Carr is probably one of the top options out there on the trade market or free agency.
Yeah. No,
you have Tom Brady, you have Phillip Rivers. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah, and
right after that, you're looking at probably Derek Carr and Cam Newton would be the two.
Yeah, because and you have Andy Dalton as well, to kind of lock out or to round out that top 3, I think, of veteran guys that are out there and available. But Vincent, in closing, when you look at this, again, we're talking to Vincent Frank, who's a NFL writer and editor at sportsnot.com, also writes for Forbes as well. Vincent, when you look at this situation and you talk to your sources around the league, how real, in closing, is that interest in the Raiders in shopping Derek Carr and perhaps moving on from him?
I think it's 100% real. I don't think Derek Carr will be week 1 starter in Vegas in 2020.
Wow.
So if you can go out there, you get a Cam Newton. The Raiders need to make a splash. They're in Vegas. They have a new fan base. John Gruden is running the ship. They're going to make a splash, and that starts at quarterback. I honestly would not be surprised if Tom Brady is the quarterback in Las Vegas.
Wow, yeah, we keep hearing that, and we'll see.
If he leaves New England.
If he leaves New England, right.
He'll be in Vegas. He'll be in Vegas.
Yeah, that's what I've said. I've said, too, that there's not a lot of viable options out there for Tom Brady. He can kind of go where he wants, but if you look at teams where they're at in the rebuilding process, what weather you play in, all that kind of stuff, Las Vegas certainly sticks up there. All right, Vincent, thanks, man. We appreciate you being on. Make sure you check out Vincent Frank NFL is his Twitter handle. Follow him for great NFL information. We'll talk to you again real soon, my friend.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Vincent Frank from SportsNot and Forbes.com was our guest there. So, Kelly, we're up on a break, but a lot to think about there.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at some of those options. Like, I really like Carr to the Colts. I think that's good for everybody involved there. Man, Tom Brady's not leaving New England. He's not going to be.
I tend to agree with you.
I just can't see a situation where Carr's not the week 1 starter.
Yeah, I've said that all along, and I've reinforced that throughout that I believe that too. But that said, as we talked about earlier with the draft and other things, if an opportunity presents itself, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen and we get surprised by it. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we're going to roll on. We're going to talk a little bit about what could be next, but also we're going to talk XFL. That's right. Did you watch it? Are you watching it today? We're going to talk about it next on Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Hi, this is Steve Wisniewski, and you're listening to the Silver and Black Today.
Indeed you are, when we put our microphones on. All right, welcome back to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio. Coming to you from the studios somewhere in an undisclosed location. Actually, you can find them really easily. Just don't come and try to do anything harmful. Anyway, we're back. Speaking of harmful, I was on a tangent.
Speaking of harmful,
Speaking of harmful, let's talk about
like
the
to
XFL.
Thank the 4 people still listening to the show after that.
Thanks, Kelly. I appreciate that. All right, so we are back, and we're going to shift gears a little bit now. I want to thank again Vincent Frank from Sports Not as well for joining us. He also can catch his work on Forbes.com as well. And there's some folks in the chat saying, how does he know how Gruden's relationship is with Carr? Folks, reporters talk to sources inside the team in the NFL and so on. Michael Lombardi, our good friend from Radio.com Sports, who's on the show a lot, he also has intimated that this past week, and people are like, well, he hates the Raiders because the Raiders fired him. Come on, let's go. It doesn't matter. Well, he said it last year, and then he didn't say it last year. And so, anyway, people have sources. Whether it's true or not, we won't know until actually something happens or it doesn't happen. And by the way, Kelly, this is what I was having a discussion with somebody this week. Sometimes reporters report things like the Raiders are considering trading Derek Carr. Let's say that's the story. And then it doesn't happen. Oh, you were wrong. See, you're full of crap. No, they might have been trying to trade somebody and the offer didn't come through. So when you read, why would somebody report it unless it hasn't happened yet? That's because when you hear things, you talk about it. If you have good sources, you don't just willy-nilly put it out there, which some people do. But if you have a good source telling you something, and just because it doesn't come to fruition doesn't mean it wasn't being explored.
Yeah, and it's like you said, considering's the big thing in there. I'm considering going to the gym today. It's not going to happen, but I'm considering it.
Oh my God,
doesn't mean it never happened.
No, that's right. Absolutely. And at least you can feel proud that, hey, I considered going to the gym today.
Hey, I drive by it all the time. There's an In-N-Out right down the street.
I considered not eating that second taco. Right? Anyway. All right, we're moving on now, and did you guys watch the XFL yesterday? Now, there's 2 more games. There's 2 games yesterday, 2 games coming today. The XFL in its opening weekend did pretty well from a gate perspective, getting people in the stadiums in Houston and in D.C., playing in soccer stadium. Well, the D.C. was soccer stadium. Houston, I forgot what stadium they played in. But nonetheless, Kelly, I watched parts of both games yesterday. I say parts because I didn't watch all of it. But a couple thoughts that I had, which was, number one, I was impressed with the product on the field as far as presentation. So Fox did a good job, I thought, really, really well. Used the same graphics package they used on the Super Bowl, everything. And then, of course, the broadcasters were good. They were all experienced broadcasters. But the product and the quality of play on the field, is it NFL? Of course not. But is it a good product in between, from a play perspective, college and professional football? Yes, I thought it was pretty dang good overall. What'd you think?
I enjoyed it. I had it on the TV at work, no sound, so I'm kind of just watching it here and there, kind of hitting bits and pieces. So I didn't get like the whole review thing to where they're actually kind of talking over the view, which I think is huge for the sport. You're going to see that in the NFL. You have to see that in the NFL eventually. No matter how much they want to stick their head in the sand and say that, they don't have an issue with officiating, they do. So I didn't get the full, all the new, the new nuances they put in with the getting the players and interviewing them right on the sideline. Just little wrinkles like that they've put in that I think will be really interesting for the fan. The fact that Houston had to open up more seating because they had ticket sales that they basically sold out and had to open up more seating is a good sign. But the TV product's what's going to push this. And from everything you've read, everybody enjoyed the TV product from a production side, which you definitely couldn't say about the AAF.
No. In fact, the feels were so different. Watching, I was so interested to see how they came on the air and how things went, and it was flawless. Now, I expected nothing less because you're talking about WWE. You're talking about Vince McMahon. This is what he does. He puts a product on television multiple times a week. It's a multi-billion-dollar business he has with wrestling. So you would expect it. It wasn't like the fledgling AAF, which it was just a bunch of people who thought they knew what they were doing. But the quality of play, their big slogan, Kelly, is less stall, more ball. And all 2 games yesterday were 3 hours-ish or less. Around 3 hours, actually.
Yeah, they were shooting for 2:30, though.
Correct.
So, it still hit that 3-hour mark for a football game, which, pace of play seemed better. Like, it didn't feel like a 3-hour game. But, it's you can kind of nitpick things like that. I know they're kind of shooting to have something set up like that, because I think for them, it's more of a TV issue about they want to lock in a 3-hour block.
Right.
And not have to worry about going over anything like that. So they want a 2:30 game, or a 2 hour and 30-minute game.
Right.
But I don't think pace of play in football is as big an issue as everybody seems to make it out to be baseball.
No, and you're right. I thought the stall piece of it to me is much more. And you're right. I thought, for example, even the commercial breaks. And how they've cut down the clock, right? The play clock and all that. That kind of quickens the pace a little bit. It's not like it's baseball, who I believe does have a quick an issue with pace of play at times that drags on, and so you lose people with our attention spans being nothing now. But the quality of play, I thought, to me, the most fascinating piece, and I just, which is crazy because I very rarely talk about the kicking game in football, right? Because it's kicking. Who wants to talk about kickers and kicking? But what impressed me was the kicking rule, where you basically have the players 5 yards apart at the 30-yard line, and the kicker kicks the ball, and they must stand still until the receiver, the punt or kick returner, receives the ball and touches the ball. To me, for 2 reasons. One, player safety, because there's so many collisions on kickoffs, is why they've moved the ball up and basically gotten rid of kick returns in the NFL. And second is the ability for the ball carrier to really carry the ball out, because we've seen kick returning in the NFL basically just go the way of the dinosaur.
Yeah, they say all that kicking stuff and everything's for safety, but they're promoting returns.
I know.
The kneel down is the safest thing for anybody in football.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, we're it's for player safety. We want to do this. Well, no, you want them to run the ball out. You want more people blocking and running, which is going to lead to more injuries than some guy taking a knee in the end zone. It's more interesting to me, and it's those little tweaks of the rules and stuff which I thought were going to be interesting to kind of check out. I like the kicking stuff. I like the extra point. I like the fact that you can have a 9-point touchdown if you need to.
Yes.
As a gambler, I hate this. Because I bet on both games yesterday.
It's hard to predict.
Well, that's the thing. There's no such thing as a key number anymore.
Right.
In the NFL, 3 and 7 are key numbers. When 3, 7, 10. When you're looking at totals, you've got 27, 31. Just things like that. There's no such thing as a key number in the XFL. Because like I said, you score your first touchdown at 6-0. You do the 10-yard 3-point play, it's 9-0.
Right.
You've just passed 7 and 8 on your key numbers. So, somebody goes through the next one, they don't get the extra point. They're now down a field goal, even though you've both scored a touchdown. It's just a fascinating wrinkle to me.
It is a fascinating wrinkle, and it's going to be fascinating even more so to see what the gaming industry does around it. Now, yesterday you could bet the game, at least here in Nevada at sports books, including on your mobile apps. There was no in-play because they have no data.
Well, Nevada didn't have in-play, but
somebody else did?
Somebody, yeah. Oh, man, I'm totally blanking. It's Fox Gaming or Fox... It's one of the actual teams that the XFL sold their proprietary data to.
Gotcha.
So they had in-game where DraftKings, who was the other one, didn't. But Fox was actually doing it. It's funny because I believe Circa was the first place in town to put up numbers on totals.
Yeah.
And the totals went up 8 or 9 points because they put them out in the 40s. and they got hammered up to like the 50s and came back down a little bit.
Wow.
I give them credit for trying.
Yeah.
To do something like this. It's so hard when you have nothing to work on.
Right, because
they had 1 week of preseason games that weren't on TV or anything. The only data we have on those preseason games is like from people in the stands and their Twitter followings and stuff. And like there's the scores of stuff, but you don't know what happened.
Right.
So it's so difficult to try to come up. So I give Circa credit for throwing a number out there and being like, hey, here you go. If you want it, we're going to take it.
Right, because you look at the Nevada books, right? You have 60 years of data. I mean, at least I don't know how much data they actually use and how far back they go, but you have all that data for in-game and all that stuff that just makes it much more easy for them to predict. Because let's face it, folks, they don't do it because they lose money a lot. So that was interesting. I also thought the extra point thing too. I wonder if because of that reason, if it stays as it is after this year, we'll have to see. But I thought the mix of the college and pro presentation was a winner because you saw some of the things. For example, the reception rule. You can have one as long as you have part of your body in bounds and you're showing that you're catching the ball. Then it's a reception. So that's more like college, which I also like. I also, even though we didn't see it yesterday, at least I didn't see it, you can double forward pass. Did you know this?
Yeah, I know. I just don't know exactly.
When does that happen?
But I have to see an actual play to understand exactly what they mean by that.
Well, it has to be behind the line of scrimmage.
I know that, but I mean, if you're in the shot, I have to actually see this for me, for me to think it's going to matter.
So, for example, I'm in the shotgun. I throw a bubble screen where the guy's just ahead of me, so it's a forward pass, and then they take the ball and throw it.
Yeah. When I said I have to see it, I mean I have to see a coach actually use it in a game.
Exactly.
I have to see them actually be like, you know what, this is going to be a cool idea. Let's try it.
Right.
Now, you did see Cardell Jones as part of the old Tecmo Bowl triple reverse flea flicker.
Yes.
That worked. I mean, it worked to perfection.
Yeah.
You'll see little things like that just because the coaches don't really care if they get fired.
That's right.
So, I mean, it's like, yeah, they're coaching and everything, but you're not coaching the Vikings, man. You're coaching the D.C. Defenders. You're going to let some stuff
fly. Or the
fly.
Dragons, the Seattle Dragons
now,
with Jim Zorn.
You mentioned the gaming side of this. I was reading yesterday that Caesar's Palace took less than $10,000 in bets on the first game.
Yeah, I think
so. It's one of those things that it might pick up steam, but I don't think you're going to see a huge gaming side of this for a few weeks, and then you might see it pick up a little bit.
Right, people are bored.
But yeah, this isn't good, and this is why I think this league should be, May, June, July. Yeah, you got to deal with some heat and some issues and stuff like that. But in the, baseball's a dead sport. So it's like, let's get football when the only thing to watch is baseball.
No, you're right. All right, we're going to step aside. We'll pick this up a little bit too, but we also have coming up next, Kelly's Corner, which everybody waits for. And I'm actually, I mentioned something to Kelly this morning. He said, oh, that's what my corner's on. So we're obviously of like mind on what he's going to talk about. We hope you are too. You're listening to The Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140.
CBS Sports Radio. This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio. And we go out, we have a caller on the line. Yes, we had some phone issues when we moved into the bigger studio because the show's done so well. They moved us into this bigger studio, Kelly, right? And when that happened, there were some phone issues because of the way that the stations work. And so we were kind of a victim of our own success because we got this bigger studio, and then the phones wouldn't work. And the phones not working was a huge, huge deal, and particularly for the man that we call the honorary mayor of Raider Nation in Las Vegas, and that, of course, is our longtime listener and good friend, Wally, who is on the phone with us now. Wally, we got the phones up, brother.
Wally!
Hey, I'm so proud of you guys, man. It's a Festivus miracle.
It is, man. See? And we missed having you on the show. So
your boy Chaz knew I was coming for him today, and he dodged out on me, huh?
Yeah, well, we don't give him the nickname the International Man of Leisure for without a reason. He's leisuring.
Well, I'd be at Pebble today if I could, too.
Exactly.
Hey, I just want you guys to know this isn't an empty threat. If we sign Brady, I'm taking my Silver and Black Today banner out of my office at work, and I'm going to burn it.
Wait a minute. What does that have to do with our show?
I'm just saying.
We're not signing Brady.
Put up a fight in this deal.
Fight.
I know you got Gruden and Davis's ear, so you better fill it up.
No, so here's the thing, Wally.
We Raider fans will not tolerate having Brady as a quarterback.
Interesting. I've heard some of that, Wally, and I understand the sentiment because of the history. There's no doubt about it. I still don't think it happens. I've said that all along. I'm not saying that there's not a chance it happens, but I just don't see it. I've said that Derek Carr will be the quarterback when they start at Allegiant Stadium when that first game is played. And I still believe that. I really do. Now, a lot could change. They could trade up. You heard Tom Fornelli earlier in the show talk about trading up and getting a young quarterback like Tua. They could do that. They could go get a veteran quarterback and try to push Carr a little bit, which is my option. I'd like to see them get a better backup who can come in and get the best out of Derek Carr by pushing him a little bit. But yeah,
my head says keep the draft picks, but my heart says if we could get Tua from like 2 years ago, man, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Wally.
And Kelly's right about one thing. You got to have a bad boy at quarterback, or you're just spinning your wheels.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. But let me before
I hate to agree with him.
Before we let you go, Wally, though, just to close the book on the Brady thing, if the Raiders signed Tom Brady and went to a Super Bowl, you would not root for them.
I wouldn't even watch it.
Wow. Okay, well, that's what Wally has spoken. Wally, my brother, thank you so much for calling in, man.
Hey, thanks for fixing the phones for me.
You got it. No more strings and cans. We're ready to go. All right, that was
see you, Wally.
That was our great listener, Wally, and Kelly. I mean, there is a segment of the Raider Nation who believe that they don't. If Tom Brady now, they might disown the Raiders over Tom Brady.
Some people will, and I have a tendency to believe Wally just because
I do too. Wally doesn't.
Just knowing him a little bit, I really believe it. A lot of people will say that, and the second they make a playoff run or whatever, they're getting the silver and black number 2 jersey. You know, they're all in on Tom Brady because that's what we do as fans. You know,
we curse him and then we love him.
Yeah,
right. Okay, Kelly, this is the portion of the show that we always get into at this time, which is Kelly's Corner, which Kelly takes this segment and he does what he does best, which is espouse and talk about things that are on his mind. And it doesn't always have to be NFL related or even sports related. I think it is today, but we give you, without further delay, Kelly's Corner.
One thing I like about being a sports fan is meeting like new sports fans and people that are just getting into the sport. So you can kind of talk to them about stuff and, you know, give them information on how things actually work. Well, luckily for me, the 49ers made the World Series, Jesus. The 49ers made the Super Bowl this year. And since most 49er fans have only been watching football for 5 weeks, it's fun to be able to teach them about the history of their team. Because right now, all anybody wants to do is fire Kyle Shanahan and get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, I got a news flash for you guys. Before this season, in the last 5 years, you won 25 games total. Do you know how bad that is? The Raiders won 32. The team everybody dumps on is the Oakland/Las Vegas/LA/whatever Raiders has won 7 more games than you in the last 5 years. You just made it to the Super Bowl with a quarterback who, I forgot his record, I think it's 21-4 in 25 starts for your team. You have a head coach who's coached in 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls, and you want to get rid of both of them. This is why that's stupid. If you get rid of a coach, who else are you bringing in? You're not getting a better offensive mind than Kyle Shanahan. There's nobody available that is a better coach than him.
Right.
You're not getting a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. Everybody's like, we'll get Brady. We'll bring in Brady. You know who had way more passing yards this year than Tom Brady? Jimmy Garoppolo. You know who had more touchdown passes than Patrick Mahomes? Jimmy Garoppolo. You know who just led your team to the Super Bowl? Jimmy Garoppolo. You might not like the fact that he blew a huge pass in the Super Bowl. I get it. He hits that pass, you're a Super Bowl champion.
Yep.
But I think you need to remember that, Nick Bosa, that really good defensive lineman you guys have that was all over the place, you got him with the second pick in the draft. You know how you don't get the second pick in the draft? Being good at football. Your team was an afterthought and sucked for the last 5 or 6 years.
Oh.
Suck it up, Buttercup. Jimmy Garoppolo's here to stay.
Epic.
Shanahan is here to stay, and your team is better for it. Now, when you start, you're probably not going to watch football anymore because you're a 49er fan, and if they make the playoffs, you'll start picking it up again. But for those 5 people that are actually 49er fans, you'll be fine. You're fine. You made it to the Super Bowl. Yeah, you lost the Super Bowl. You're probably going to have a good chance to get there again. It's okay. It's okay.
Chill out. Chill with your white wine. Right?
I mean, who drinks white wine? Red's the way to go.
49ers
California
fans.
Red.
49er fans do. But Kelly, no, epic rant. And I agree with you 100% because I said to you this morning when I came in, Jimmy Garoppolo, okay, so he didn't throw a lot of passes. Did they win the game in the NFC Championship? Yes, they did. Super Bowl misses the big. I get that. So to your point, but look where. So what a guy gets to the Super Bowl, takes you back there for the first time since 1994, and you're ready to jettison him.
Did you forget about the Kaepernick Super Bowl?
Oh, Kaepernick. Sorry, you're right. So I don't know. Maybe I just put that stuff out of my head. This 49ers. Nobody's cared about them until the last year. So you get to the Super Bowl. It's a close game, by the way. And, of course, Patrick Mahomes does what Patrick Mahomes does the last quarter and comes back with that epic fourth quarter, and you lose. But that's not all on Jimmy Garoppolo. That's on that defense, too, a little bit.
I was going to say, if Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan don't break off their coverage on that in route and allow that 44-yard pass at Tyreek Hill, which was a dead duck that stood in the air for an hour.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Sherman. It was another guy. But he was supposed to have the back third, and said he cuts off to take the in cut that Sammy Watkins had.
Yeah.
If he stays in his coverage, that never happens because if Mahomes throws it, it's a pick.
Right.
But he broke it off and touchdown, completely different game.
Well, and again, and you mentioned Kyle Shanahan. Like, well, Shanahan, look what happened with him with the Falcons, right? They had that big lead, and then, well, did he, like you said, did Kyle Shanahan play defense? Did he run the defense? And again, I don't like the 49ers, but when people are stupid, they're stupid. So if you're a 49ers fan, which, like you said, there are very few real ones. There's a lot of bandwagons who are saying get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo and questioning Kyle Shanahan. I can give you 30 other NFL coaches, well, maybe 28 now, NFL coaches or owners that would kill to have Kyle Shanahan and what he's able to do on offense and his mind. Then you have these fans out there fighting. It's just ridiculousness.
And the one thing that kills me is he should have ran the ball. He should have ran the ball. You run down the clock. Running the ball doesn't bleed the clock. Getting first downs bleeds the clock.
Amen.
When Troy Aikman on there's like, here's what you're going to do. You're going to run the ball right down their throat. And then Garoppolo throws it for 7 yards and a first down. And Troy Aikman's like, or you could do that. That was the right call.
Right.
Because everybody's expecting that. Just because a pass gets batted down or a receiver drops a pass doesn't mean the call was wrong. You cannot play the result on things like that. A coach's job is to put his players in the best position to win. It's up to the players to make those plays.
All right. What a good ending to Kelly's Corner. I love that one, man. I was completely in agreement. Even when I disagree with you, I still love Kelly's Corner. And you should, too. All right, we're going to step aside, and then we'll come back, close out the show with some more thoughts on Raider Nation, NFL football, and we'll take your call, 702-733 5968. You're listening to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
You found the most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black. This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Las Vegas' only all Raiders talk show. Now, almost exactly 2 years. That's right. Before the Raiders even got here, we were on the air talking Raiders football here in in Las Vegas, San Diego.
That's all right. I said the 49ers were in the World Series. So
that's funny. I just got a note from my buddy John in San Diego, and so it popped up on my screen, and so I saw it, and it's like, oh. Anyway, we are back here. We are talking Raiders football. Go ahead. What were we going to say?
San Diego. That was founded by the Germans, right?
Yes, San Diego. All right. Again, a big thank you to Tom Fornelli from CBSSports.com for being with us earlier in the show, as well as Vincent Frank from Sportsnaut and Forbes, also talking to us about Derek Carr and possible spots if he were to leave the Raiders or be shown the door with the Raiders, however you want to call it. But we want to close the show out today. I want to talk a little bit. There's some stories floating around, Kelly, about possible free agents or players that the Raiders might be in play for. And I want to talk a little bit. I want to throw a name at you. And it makes sense. Players, not just in college, but in professional sports, sometimes will follow coaches. And one of the guys that we've heard some rumblings about is defensive end Robert Quinn from the Cowboys, who's very close with Coach Rod Marinelli, who, of course, is now a part of the Raiders coaching staff on the defensive line. Robert Quinn, how would you feel? How much would he be an improvement for the Raiders on the defensive line if they were able to acquire him? Or would you rather take your money and go elsewhere, either looking in the draft for a young player or another free agent?
You could never have enough pass rushers, but the only problem with something like that is you have two rookie DNs who could be cornerstone franchise-type guys, and you kind of need them on the field to see what they have. Because, like, Max had an amazing year. Furl's the fourth pick of the draft. You're not giving up on the fourth pick of the draft right now. So it's like, how much do you want a veteran guy to come in, even though he could improve your defense, but he's going to cut into some of that time that the young guys need so you can see where they're going to be. So it's kind of a, you have to decide where you think these guys are at. The Raiders are not going to be a playoff team next year, in my opinion. Quinn's a guy who I think is going to go try to, he might want to go somewhere for the most money, might want to go somewhere for the ring. I don't know where his head's at in this whole thing. Hell, might just want to come to Vegas. It's a nice place to live. People come here all the time.
Yes.
But for me, for the Raiders, it's like, we've got these young guys. We need to get these young guys on the field. It's like, how much are we looking to this year and how much are we looking to the future?
Right, and we've talked many times, and I know your reasoning on why you think the Raiders won't make the playoffs. I think they have a good shot, depending on a couple pieces and how things line up in the offseason because of the schedule, primarily that. And I think if they can improve enough on defense, I think they can be a playoff caliber team. Does that mean they'll go far in the playoffs? No. And to our point, being 8-8 is the worst thing you can do in the NFL, but they could be 9-7, 10-6, perhaps. Maybe I'm being too much of an optimist.
They can be a playoff caliber team, but their only shot's a wild card.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're not going to beat the Chiefs.
You're not winning the division with the Chiefs.
No.
So you have two shots.
Not with a healthy Patrick Mahomes, you're not.
You're cutting your chances of getting down, which is why I say I don't think they're a playoff team.
Yeah.
Their division is bad as the Chargers are, and Denver didn't look great. It's not the worst AFC division. I think they're let's talk about the AFC South. If you could easily win that division. If the Raiders in the South, they win a wild card. They're not in there. They're in I think a little tougher division. So it's like you're cutting your chances down to get in the playoffs because I don't think they can win the division.
No, and that was my point I made too. Even if you're a big Derek Carr fan, right, and there's a lot of them out there, my question after watching the Super Bowl and watching Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs score 21 points in 8 minutes, okay, is do you have an offense that can put up points at that rate? Because if you don't, how are you going to get past the Chiefs? How can what do the Raiders have to do in order to build an offense? I know their defense has to get better. That's without look. You have to have a better defense, no question. But how do they build an offense, Kelly, that's going to be able to keep up with and try to unseat what is a young, talented Chiefs team? And don't talk to me about salary cap because you don't understand the salary cap if you think that's going to ruin the Chiefs.
The salary cap is a minor issue that you can always work around if you have Patrick Mahomes.
Right, because you defer money, you do all kinds of things you can do.
Not only that, but your most valuable asset is that quarterback. No matter what it costs you, you can find a cheaper replacement everywhere else except quarterback.
There you go. That's very true.
That's like, actually, never mind. I just lost my thought. But I was going to say, it's
been a long season.
Yeah, it has. Like I said, they have to try to win the wild card. That's kind of what you're looking at. I hate being 8-8. I hate being 7-9 because you're not going to get that high draft pick and everything like that.
Right.
But we saw Mahomes get hurt this year. Anything can happen. Garoppolo got hurt last year. So, I mean, when I say I don't think they're a playoff team, it's like I don't see them I don't see them maybe winning a wild card because of that division. What if Mahomes or something gets hurt again? They can win the division. You can be there. I just don't, I don't bank on an injury to try to get my team over the hump.
No, I think that's right. But that's why the question around, to me, look, you either, and no matter what the GM and the coach say, you either have to be all in with your quarterback or you're not. Like, there's no in between. And if you're not all in with Derek Carr, that's fine. It's a business decision. It's not nothing against Carr. It just is what it is. Then you need to make a choice now, because if you're going to build for a championship team, to your point, Kelly, if you want to be a team that's going to win the division so you can have home field advantage and do all the things you want to do as a divisional winner, then you have to look at the Chiefs and you have to look at what's going to beat the Chiefs. How are you going to beat the Chiefs? And to do that, you're going to have a high potent offense. There's no question to me. And that's going to be for the next 10 years at least, barring injury or anything crazy like that.
Yeah, it's like, the thought that left my head a second ago. I was like, remember the Raiders-Chiefs game at Oakland? Well, how many points did the Chiefs score in the second quarter?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
21.
Was it actually
28?
It was 28, right?
28.
That's what the Raiders scored all season in the third quarter.
Exactly.
They did it in one quarter.
Right.
That's the team you have to beat from now on.
Yeah, and your division you got to beat just to get into the playoffs. In some years, because if it's competitive on the wild card, like we saw this year, it was incredibly competitive for the wild card. So you can't always count on the wild card either. So it'll be interesting. Kelly Kreiner, as always, man, thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. And somebody said smile more. Remember?
It's too early in the morning.
It's too early to smile.
You guys don't realize I don't sleep.
He doesn't. He's
I worked
a vampire.
Graveyard shift for 15 years. I go to bed at 5 in the morning, and I got to be in here at 7.
I know. It's because you're a gamer. It doesn't matter. You just come in with your Coke or your Dr. Pepper. Sorry, we're both Dr. Pepper guys.
I have an iced tea, and I always have iced tea when I get in.
You had a Wendy's cup in here like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, there was iced tea.
Oh, was there? Okay. My bad. I made assumptions. That's what I get for making assumptions. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here. Don't forget, you can catch this show. You can watch the video replay, or we'll have the show usually up within 30 minutes on all the platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast and audio content, you'll find our latest show, and you can listen back to that. Make sure you subscribe there and also give us a positive review. But if you subscribe there, you'll never miss a show. You can always have it downloaded automatically as well. Don't forget to visit the website, silverandblacktoday.com. We've had an amazing month traffic-wise with all the coverage we've had there. So check out silverandblacktoday.com. Also, our YouTube channel. Check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe. Don't forget, though, if you subscribe, that's great. You have to hit the notifications bell, and then you'll be notified whenever we go live. But for our engineer, Trent Ogle, for Kelly Kreiner, I am Scott Branson. We will talk to you next time, guys. Thanks for joining us here on the Silver and Black Today.